I'm Allie Zendrian, Editor-in-Chief of Brand News, and this is the Financial Services News You Might Have Missed podcast. This is where we find news gems that might not have gotten their full chance to sparkle, and I dust them off a little bit. I'm joined by my trusted financial advisor and my co-host, Brandon Galisi of Galisi Financial. Brandon, how are you doing?
I am doing a lot better than yesterday. Had some things going on at the house, which is why this time we're actually recording on a Friday morning instead of our usual Thursday spot. But Plumber was able to come out, take care of everything, and got fine sleep, and now ready to talk some financial services news with you. So, what have you been up to this week, Allie? Hopefully, a little better than that.
It is, yes. And thank you for the disclaimer because, my day being a little more slammed, I want to edit the podcast, but there are other things going on. So it will get up on Friday. It's probably going to be late on the East Coast anyway, but so apologies for anybody who was sitting there waiting for it. And also thank you for being there waiting for it. But yeah, week's been good. Made some great connections, connected some clients together who have some great things in common. So it was a good work week. I'll take it.
Awesome. Yeah. Love to hear it.
Thank you. So actually, the first person that we're going to mention is an AtoZ communications client. The first bit of news is something that I actually referenced during last week's podcast and said that I wasn't going to front run the news. Well, here we go. It's the Rossby Advisor Profitability Calculator. This allows advisors to compare various cost structures and compensation models, including that of Rossby Financial, which is a differentiator in the model because it doesn't believe in basis points. So I'm not a financial advisor. I just so happen to talk to one every week for this podcast. But given your expertise with this, what did you think of this profitability calculator?
Overall, I thought it was really cool. I mean, I feel like there's all sorts of different business models in the financial industry. And I know a lot of times people will just want to look at, how much AUM do you have? And before that, it's a decent indicator of then potentially, really the question is, how much money do you make? Truthfully, when someone asks how many assets do you manage? But whenever there's all these different fee models, there's different ways about it. And there's different levels of profitability because 20 million AUM at one firm may look completely different than 20 million AUM at another firm. So it's kind of cool. Not that people are going to be putting their numbers in and necessarily bragging and comparing to each other, but it seems like there is a benchmark component to this tool. So you can understand, are you in a ballpark? Is your profitability healthy for the level that you're at? So for my quick look through at it, I think it seems pretty neat.
Cool. So I hadn't thought of the whole somebody using this as some kind of bragging right of like, oh, well, I'm a whatever, like, oh, well, you're only a, but that is interesting. I would be curious if that's how the industry decides to use it. And if so, let us know. So I thought, first of all, I feel like this will be one of those situations where if an advisor wants to move, so does the math the way that I thought, because at least from what I'm understanding of when advisors transition, it seems like there's a lot of like platitudes and big discussion. But in terms of like the literal somebody going through the numbers with you and saying like at the end of the day is what you're going to make, it doesn't seem like that happens. Does that sound right to you?
There's just a lot of assumptions, or there's not necessarily a great tool. I mean, even when I did the transition, I built out a few of my own very basic spreadsheets, nothing like this in-depth calculator. So it would have been cool to have something like this to maybe compare things and then pull, again, there's always going to be assumptions and variables. So it could be, you could be using the greatest tool in the world and you still do have to make some assumptions. But the fact that there's already going to be some potentially baked in, or likely a better, trying to make it an apples to oranges, more of an apples to apples comparison if you're moving from one business model to another, I think is really cool. So I hadn't directly considered that, Allie, but I think that would actually be a great use case of this tool where, hey, I'm at firm A, looking to go to firm B, using this as one aspect of that decision based on these assumptions. What is profitability going to look like? And hopefully it means profitability at firm B is going to be more, or there's at least, another cultural fit or another reason to.
But yeah, agreed. Obviously, when we make decisions to change jobs or whatnot, yes, it could be, I hate my manager and I need to get away from him or her. I need more money. And so I need to go be doing something else. I want to change industries or whatever. So yeah, there are always cultural and social conditions to keep in mind in addition to the money, but at least then you have all those facts in front of you so that you can make a super informed decision. So I would be curious. I thought that this is a use case, but again, not a financial advisor. So I'm just making assumptions. But I was wondering if you felt like you wanted to tweak your model. If you were saying like, I don't know, my pricing here feels a little bit off. Can you use the calculator to do that, or does that not work?
Yeah, I think that's interesting too. If you see your profitability number, say I put in my numbers today and the profitability number is not where I'd want it to be, or it's not benchmarking very well, maybe I'm looking more introspective. why is that? Is it because I'm not charging enough? Is it because the business model that I have isn't as efficient, or I'm spending too much time with clients and not charging enough? So I could absolutely see that being a use case for maybe it's an annual or quarterly concept where you go in and tweak the numbers just to see how things are doing. And maybe that's the leading indicator, if you will, where you're like, why is profitability a little bit lower? Let me go and explore that a little further. And maybe there's a fine reason you just hired an employee, for example. And of course, you have to pay said employee. So in the moment, maybe you have a temporary profit decrease, but you might know that one off the top of your head. That one, I guess, would be a little bit more obvious. But if you made a larger marketing investment or something like that, be able to at least see, hey, let me check under the hood here and see if I need to make some changes. So yeah, I could see that being a use case.
All right. Well, I like that I make assumptions and sometimes they work out. So yay.
I feel like I feel like a lot of your assumptions. I mean, you spend so much time in the financial industry, Allie. You know way more than the average person about financial advisors, how we think, how we operate. I mean, the various different business models too. Most consumers have zero idea, but this is your niche. So I'm not surprised that your assumptions are correct a lot of the time when it comes to advisors.
Well, thank you. I very much appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome.
So our second bit of news is from Smarsh, which announced its new AI capabilities that can reduce compliance noise, which as a phrase I loved, as well as accelerate risk detection and scale supervision. There was a quote in the press release talking about compliance teams being inundated with data that I can totally understand how that's the case. So Smarsh's noise reduction agents cut false positives by 60%. They also have a misconduct detection agent that's in beta testing right now. So I thought that this was great. It seems like within the industry, there's a lot of thought of, do we really need 10 compliance professionals now with the amount of tech that we have? So it seems like this is pushing that trend a little bit further, but would love to get your thoughts.
One, I agree with you. I love the term compliance noise because I think as a whole, we can agree that compliance overall is a good thing. Unfortunately, certain compliance strategies or policies that we'll call them out a little bit, very, very large firms, when they've got a lot more things to think about compared to smaller, more nimble firms, ends up being noise, where the SEC or FINRA or whoever else may allow an advisor to do something, but a firm just has to say no because we don't have time to deal with that. So I think the more technology that comes into it, because we want to do right by the consumer, but sometimes compliance can truthfully get in the way of that, where SEC allows it, but firm does not, and client ends up not benefiting because firm doesn't have the resources to do the compliance right. So that's what I would consider on the noise piece versus, don't be guaranteeing people returns and embezzling and stealing money. Like those are very good compliance things to have and checks and balances so those things do not happen. But when it comes to call it more basic stuff or social media or even in meetings and sending emails back and forth with clients, again, I can't relate as much because I'm independent now and I'm able to make much more nimble decisions. But coming from a very large firm prior that had, much more large firm compliance, we'll call it the LCD, I think as Michael Kitces has referred to, least common denominator compliance, just happens. I mean, it's human nature. It's understandable. If you have 15,000 advisors, what could one of them possibly do? It's a little more worrisome. So I think if something like Smarsh can come in and help big firms like that, I think ultimately the end client is going to benefit.
Yeah. I loved, so you said least common denominator, and then I was adding compliance. So I was like, ooh, LCDC, is that like a new band? Or it sounds kind of cool, even though obviously it's like god awful. No,
actually, I've heard LCD so many times, and it's always LCD compliance, but no one's ever said LCD. That's odd. You should, that's awesome. LCDC.
This is what happens when you record on Fridays, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe we should do this more often. I love that. LCDC. Yeah, you've got to put a post on LinkedIn about that. Advisors, back to the advisor thing, advisors are going to love that. That's awesome. Sorry to interrupt.
In my hot spare time, I'll work on that. But this also reminded me of Watts PR Group's client Smartria, which is also helping to reduce compliance noise. So I really appreciate that tools are working on this because I can only imagine, especially to your point, it's happening a lot in larger firms, but even the smaller ones, if you're getting inundated with how much compliance gobbledygook to have to deal with, are you spending time on me? Are you spending time marketing and getting another client? No, you're not. You're getting sopped up in stuff that doesn't really matter. So really appreciate groups that are trying to minimize this so that I can get your quality time.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with my setup, I have a lot of my compliance outsourced. So fortunately, I don't have to spend too much time. But right, I think even for solos or other smaller firms, the firm owner does spend a decent amount of time. I mean, I've heard of firms going through their regular scheduled state audit, haven't done anything wrong. It takes 40 plus hours potentially between them and other people on their team. Now, again, they can all be different. You know, someone's listening and was like, oh, mine was super easy. That's awesome. But I have heard the horror stories of, again, firms run by great people doing great work for their clients. Clients love them. Then the compliance from whatever the state that they live in just wants to come in and be a bit of a menace when they're truly taking care of their clients. So if they're able to minimize their time, to your point, Allie, I think that'd be wonderful, because the client, again, at the end of the day, is going to benefit from reducing the compliance noise, have good policies in place, reduce the noise, client probably gets better service.
Absolutely. So our next bit of news is from Edge, which analyzed millions of credit applications from non-prime borrowers, and it found that near-prime applicants showed 39% more financial stress. A quote from the press release that really struck me was, with the widening gap between traditional credit scores and consumers' true financial health, lenders need a more complete picture of both risk and opportunities to best serve consumers who are often misrepresented by traditional credit scores. I thought especially that part of this was really interesting. So I believe we talked about it a little bit last week, but so I went to the FinTech is Femme Leadership Summit last week, and on top's Julian Torres Gonzalez was talking about how small business owners in many ways are treated like second-class citizens. And as I was thinking about it, I'm like, we are? And then I thought about things like, yeah, you know what? It's a little harder for me to apply for a loan because as a business owner just at year 2, it's like, oh, that income, you didn't have your tax return yet. It looks a little made up to me. Oh, really? Because I didn't have a major corporation certify that this is my income. So I thought that it brought up something interesting, but would love to get your thoughts there.
Well, I feel like you were looking at my notes here because I specifically copied and pasted that exact quote that you read. So to riff on that a little bit more, I do think that especially that first part with the widening gap between traditional credit scores and consumers' true financial health, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And honestly, I don't know if it was the credit bureaus that marketed this years ago, but it was like, oh, if you have a high credit score, you are financially healthy. And it's like, you could make $1,000 a year and have a good credit score, and you could make $500,000 a year potentially and not, or just have a mediocre or a decent one. And it's like, who's potentially better to lend to? There's just more factors than just, oh, this person has, we'll say they have a perfect credit score. Well, if you make, again, we're just using an extremely low example, 20 grand a year, you still aren't going to be able to qualify for very much, no matter how great your credit score is. So you can see pretty quickly that credit score alone is not a great indicator. But I think then to your point, Allie, that is true. I mean, applying for loans as a small business owner is incredibly challenging and truthfully requires what I would consider true underwriting, where they're actually looking at, is this person who happens to be a business owner, are they going to be able to pay the loan back? Or what is the risk that they default on the loan? That's effectively what underwriting is. And I think at times it's just, oh, good credit score, or, oh, this person's a W-2 last 3 years. Sure, that probably is to some degree less risky, and it does take more work with a business owner. But sometimes, I mean, if you want more business owner clients to lend to, there's plenty of business owners that would absolutely be great folks to lend to. They're going to be able to pay things back. They do have the revenue to support the loan payback. But if companies don't have a system in place, or again, do what I call the true underwriting, they're going to miss out on a lot of lending, and then business owners are kind of left hung out to dry.
Yeah. It seems so short-sighted though, because as I was thinking about it, so, and probably same situation with you, I'm now making more money than I was when I was a W-2. And it's a result of hard work and great things working out. So now how am I like somewhat penalized for the fact that because I do it on my own and I make more money, I don't look like I make more money. It doesn't really make sense.
I agree. I mean, I can't use logic to make it make sense because it doesn't.
You can't math.
Right. I mean, hey, I'm making more money, but it's in a different form. It's via 1099. I'm billing my own clients and getting this money. And then lenders are just like, yeah, but it's not W-2 though. Like, that becomes lazy. And again, I get why they would do it, because it would be much easier. Look at a credit score, look at 3 years worth of W-2 income. Yeah, it's easier. I'm not discounting that, but you also would be good for the loan. You make more money and have more income to then pay said loan. So, I mean, yeah, I can make that make sense other than I acknowledge that, there could be some people that, and even this, when people are doing their tax returns, if anything, they're leaning towards more write-offs versus less, which would be lowering their income. So all things held equal, think of, business owner might actually have more income, potentially more true income than maybe even their tax return shows, for even basic stuff where if you're taking the home office deduction, you're already paying for your housing expenses, but that's a deduction that's going to go against your income that you were truthfully going to pay regardless of whether you were a business owner or not.
Yep.
And it lowers your income for tax purposes, which is awesome. But that's one of those not true business expenses in the sense of you were already spending that money regardless. That wasn't just because you were in business.
My kids need a house, yeah.
And kind of important.
Right. Yeah. But yes, I love this conversation. So may we figure out a more equitable way to do this and something that makes more sense. I mean, I hear what you're saying about we also need the speed and efficiency of things. So I get that 1+1 taking 5 seconds is great. But I'm just saying, small business owners, we power the world.
Yeah. I mean, could be a cool niche or project for some of these big companies where it's just a second division or something that just specializes and gets it right. So that will be cool to see.
Yeah, we will see. So our final piece of news this week is from, I believe it's Ooma. It's OOMA. I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, which launched a small business award to recognize entrepreneurs who power their local communities. This was in part in recognition for National Small Business Month. So yay us. I hope that you're celebrating somehow. I am not, but whatever. So submissions for this award will be reviewed based on the business story and purpose, creativity and innovation, growth and achievement, community impact, and customer care. The Ooma office customers across the country can nominate their own business sometime this month for this award, and grand prize winners will get free service from Ooma for a year. In addition to some marketing opportunities. So just wanted to shout out in case anybody could benefit from something like this, from two small business owners to other small business owners. Best of luck to you guys.
Yeah, and love it. I mean, we're obviously big supporting of small businesses, and you already brought it up. They do make the country go round, if you will. There's a lot of small business owners employing people, giving back into the economy, adding valuable services where at times certain large corporations just can't be able to solve for. So yeah, big small business fan, and really cool that Ooma's supporting them like this.
Yeah. So speaking of apparently our month, are you doing anything to celebrate? This hadn't hit me last year. And now it feels like, should I do something? But what do you do to celebrate your small business?
I don't know. I don't have short answer. No, I don't have anything specifically planned. I didn't know it was Small Business Month until you sent me this article in preparation for this podcast. Yeah, so nothing in particular, but I feel like anytime there's any big milestones, there could be a celebratory dinner or something like that at a decent restaurant is usually something that I would do to celebrate. We'll say a business milestone, if you will. But what about you? What do you do to celebrate? We'll say maybe not necessarily Small Business Month, but you hit a certain revenue level or land a certain type of client. Do you do anything specifically fun to pause, acknowledge that success?
I have to be better about this personally, because I feel like I'm really one of those people who just puts my head down, and then when you look up, it's like, oh wow, I accomplished this, and then head back down. So I'm not that great at it, but to be honest, either A, I feel like we should celebrate by getting some more business. I feel like that's the national small business thing to do. But otherwise, it's my last day teaching my class on May 12th. Everybody's doing their final presentations. So at the very least, I was like, you know what? I think I want to celebrate that. So at least that part of my small business, I will celebrate.
Absolutely. So what are you going to do? Restaurant or?
Is it sad that else? I'm I don't know that it's worthy of champagne. No, you know what? We're going for champagne or something. Prosecco. I prefer that.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. No, I feel like it's definitely worthy. I mean, you spent all semester teaching these students, and that took a lot of time and energy and a lot of insights that you've learned from your professional career and now as a small business owner. So absolutely worth celebrating. So definitely I will. Yeah, I will be asking if you have had your Prosecco or have plans to in future.
Okay, well, future weeks. If I show you a bottle and it still looks like it's full, obviously I didn't succeed. But I'm hoping that Tuesday night there will be a glass of Prosecco.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll hold you to it. Me and everyone else that's listening.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you as always, and happy Small Business Month to you.
Yeah, happy Small Business Month, and remember the LCDC. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Allie.